So hello, everybody. As the video shows, things get better over time. Technology helps things get better. It helps things get smaller, faster, easier, much, much better. But how about apps? How will the architecture of apps get better? We're here to tell you more about our vision for the future of Android app development, discovery, and distribution. Android's first 10 years have centered around the app download. It works like this. Developers build a large app with all their features in it. People find apps on Google Play and install the ones they want, and then they wait while Play sends the app to their device. And it's been a great 10 years. There are now over 2 billion active Android devices around the world, and Play installed close to 100 billion apps and games in the last year. 100 billion. But our app model can get even better. So what to improve? Well, during development, building and publishing for different device types is still hard. In the discovery stage, new users are put off by long wait times for the download. And after distribution, large app sizes, these large apps are much more likely to get uninstalled. So the future of apps will address these problems. Development will be more modular, discovery will be more instant, and distribution will be more dynamic. Our first step in this direction has been instant apps, and you'll hear more today about how it's removing install friction and helping to improve discovery. We made instant apps available to game developers at GDC this year. You can simply tap the Try Now button to jump into game experiences like this one, King's Candy Crush Saga. Developers are seeing that instant apps drives incremental installs. Users that would have otherwise abandoned at this page are trying the experience, they're clicking Try Now, and then they're proceeding to install. Today, we're revealing our related efforts on development and distribution. In the developer keynote, you heard a little bit about what we're working on in these areas, and we're going to talk much more about them now. To tell you more about what we've been working on, let me invite up Milena, Engineering Manager for Play App Distribution, and Kobi, Product Manager for Play App Distribution.
Thanks, Matt. The Android ecosystem has evolved since the humble G1 was introduced 10 years ago. With over 2 billion devices, there are new form factors and thousands of new device models every year. This is great for user choice. There is a device for everyone. But thinking about all these devices has made development complex. Some of you use multi-APK to optimize the size of your app. This is costly and complicated. Instead of focusing on making your app unique, you end up focusing on trying to target the right devices. With multi-APKs, the dimensions of device configurations on Android multiply really quickly. So if you try to optimize by CPU architecture and screen densities, you will end up with many APKs. And the number of APKs will grow really, really quickly, especially when you start targeting 64-bit. And each one of those APKs has its own unique version code. Although you release all of them as part of the same app release. This is painful for developers. There must be a better way. To avoid the hassle of multi-APK, some apps simply ship everything to everyone, all screen densities, all CPU architectures, all languages. The result are really, really big apps. This is painful for users.
There must be a better way. Supporting all the different devices while also adding new features has also contributed to apps becoming larger over time. Since March 2012, the average APK size has grown by 5 times. This is bad for users because mobile data and device storage are both at a premium, and users don't want to have to wait forever to start using an app or a game. We can't reiterate this point enough. APK size has a very real effect on conversion and successful download of your app. This graph shows you the correlation between user conversion on a Play Store listing and the size of an APK. Clearly, the heavier your app, the less likely a user will download it. You may have read about this in one of our Medium posts on this topic. For every 6 MB of an increase in APK size, the conversion rate goes down by 1%. This is a material loss in conversion rate, which can be recovered by focusing on the APK size. But that's not all. Bloated APKs can also be bad for innovation. Some developers are having to choose between adding new features and keeping their apps lean. For example, Flipkart is a leading e-commerce player in India where data costs are still high. So it's important for them to keep their app download size small. They're looking for solutions to keep their initial install as small as possible while being able to provide rich experiences for their users in the long run. So we've been thinking about this. How can we decrease APK size without affecting development and distribution complexity? Well, let's look at what's in today's APK. Many languages, most of which a user never needs. Duplicative CPU information for ARM and x86, and sometimes even 32-bit and 64-bit. It includes resources in 5 or 6 different screen densities, and it probably includes niche or experimental features, which only a percentage of the audience will ever be exposed to. This doesn't make much sense. A far better solution would be to only deliver the code and resources that a particular device needs, and to deliver leaner app experience where users could download additional features on demand.
So our vision for solving this pain point in development is a new app format. I'm happy to announce that today we're launching the Android App Bundle. The Android App Bundle is the new publishing format for Android. It is open source and backward compatible. It will help your users benefit from smaller apps, and you will not need to build multi-APK to optimize the size of your apps anymore. Yes, you heard that right. Multi-APK is finally going away.
Nice. Thank you.
With the app bundle, you only build one thing, and you don't need to refactor your code to start using it. In addition, it enables modular app development, which we'll talk about later in this session. So how does this work on Google Play? For end users to benefit from the app bundle, we're doing some of the heavy lifting behind the scene on the distribution side. We call this Google Play innovation launching today dynamic delivery. With dynamic delivery, Play will take your app bundle and generate APKs that are specific to a device with only the code and resources needed by that device. This means much smaller apps for your users, which is great news for the billions of new users coming online. So let's take a look at the Android App Bundle in a little bit more detail.
So here is an Android App Bundle. As you can see, it is quite similar to an APK. It has DEX files, resources, assets, and native libraries. But one difference you can see is that it can also include more than one module. In this particular example, base, foo, and bar. This is important for app modularity, which we'll get to talk about soon. Another thing you can see is that the format includes a few metadata files where you can provide Play with different instructions on how to process the bundle. Now, how does Google Play use this format to create a lightweight binary? We use an Android platform feature launched in Lollipop called Split APKs. If you think about Android App Bundle as a publishing format, splits are the serving format and what eventually ends up being installed on user devices. When you upload your bundle to Play, we will process it to generate splits. We do this with a tool we have very originally named Bundle Tool. This tool will be open sourced, so you can use it to perform the same processing that we do for off-play testing and distribution purposes. Bundle Tool facilitates all the necessary conversions between a bundle format and split APKs. For example, generating all the splits for densities, architectures, and even languages, selecting specific splits needed by a particular device, installing splits on a connected device, and for devices on Android versions older than Lollipop, it facilitates fusing of splits into monolithic, device-optimized APKs. There are many more options available with the bundle and the bundle tool. In the next session at stage 2 at 6 p.m., our engineering team will provide a technical deep dive about the bundle format, the bundle tool, and all the options it enables.
OK, so you mentioned size savings. Tell me a little bit more about how it happens.
Sure. So the big difference between splits and multi-APK are that splits are additive, not multiplicative. For example, the app here has the base APK with DEX files and the corresponding density, ABI, and language splits. With dynamic delivery, Play will only deliver the density and ABI splits required by a particular device, making the app smaller for users. In addition, Play will start handling a new dimension, languages. In the Android app bundle, you will be able to supply all the languages, and Play will only send to users the splits for languages they're typically using. In the rare case where a user switches to a new language that we weren't aware of before, Play will dynamically deliver relevant split to their device. For some apps, language splits alone introduce massive size savings.
So we've been testing this with few developers. Probably some of you are in the audience right now. For example, Twitter is one of our early access partners. By splitting over languages and screen densities, they are saving 35% of their app size. This is huge. And this is not everything. Here are a few more examples. Text Plus with 26% size savings. Blue Apron with 27% size savings. And Jaumo with 50% size savings.
And that's not all. We have more. Here are a few more examples of our early access partners. All these partners have built the bundle, published it to Play, and were able to make their apps significantly smaller. Look at the results. ABA English, Airbnb, LinkedIn, Memrise, Perigi, Pluto TV, and RV App Studios have all saved between 11 and 64% of their app size. And that's how Android App Bundle and Google Play's dynamic delivery work. Once you publish and build your bundle, Google Play will deliver just what specific device needs. Now, let me invite Karen, who leads Android Studio product team, to the stage to tell you a little bit more about how you build the bundle.
Thanks, Milena. Hi, I'm Karen, and I work on the Android team.
The sun is really bad, guys.
The sun is indeed really bad.
Those are the best moments when the mic is still on in the backstage. So you've now seen the concept of an app bundle. What I want to do is pivot directions and show you a bit about the tools that you're going to use to build the app bundle. In Android Studio 3.2 Canary, that was released less than 4 hours ago, so go download it, there's full support inside Studio and Gradle to build the app bundle format. The app bundle will contain everything your app needs. All your languages, support for every device screen, every hardware architecture, and will automatically build those configurations into APKs for you. If you're using Android Studio to build a bundle, the flow will feel very similar to an APK, working with an APK today. What we've introduced in the build menu is a new option to build a bundle. If you're using a continuous integration system, all the Gradle build tasks have also been updated to build a bundle. So replacing a single option, rebuilding your project as a bundle means that's all you need to do to take advantage of the APK size savings. You'll also be able to take advantage of Google Play's dynamic delivery, so only the bits that are needed are downloaded to the device. The Android app bundle is your new publishing format for the store. Testing and deploying your bundle will, again, feel very similar to what it does today in Android Studio. You're just working with APKs. What we've also done is updated the new Run configuration dialog, so you can choose the bundle and select your deployment target and deploy directly to a device or to an emulator. Gradle will build the bundle and then deploy only the APKs that are needed by the device. This ability to test and deploy your bundle will simulate exactly what the Play Store does. If you're just testing your app functionality, though, you can go ahead and use an APK like you did before. It'll work the same way, and it's actually going to be faster to deploy to the device. To upload the bundle into the Play Store, you'll need to sign the bundle with a signing key. For all existing apps, you need to provide Google Play with your signing key, so Play can process that key and then re-sign your bundle with the same key. For new apps, Play will just generate that APK for you, or that key for you. If you recall, in a multi-APK world, you used to have to upload every APK manually yourself to that store. In a bundle world, we do all the heavy lifting for you. You only have to upload one thing.
Once you build the bundle, you can upload and publish it through the Play console. You will use the same release flow you're familiar with an APK. In addition, in order to test your app bundle with your testers, you can use our new internal testing track. It allows you to distribute your app to your testers within less than a minute. When you publish an app bundle to the Play console, we provide you a new way to look at your app bundle and understand the size of the device-specific APKs that Play generates and delivers to your users. We call this new page the Bundle Explorer. Here you can see what is the size of all those device-specific APKs that Play generates for every device configuration. For example, you can see what is the size of the APKs that Play will deliver to an ARM XHDPI device. You can also use this page to download the device-specific APKs generated by Play to any device model that is listed in our device catalog.
We showed you how the Android app bundle and dynamic delivery will benefit you in a number of ways. For developers, you really no longer have to manage the multi-APK world. For your users, we're really hoping that they won't have to pay the cost of that giant upfront install. So what does it all mean in practice? We worked with a number of developers in our early access program, as Kobi mentioned earlier, and it's been fun. Twitter has told us what they like about the new flow. With the Android app bundle, they upload one binary with one version code, and dynamic delivery handles API, density, and language splits. For Twitter to have done this themselves, it would have required the maintenance of 500 APKs. That's not a small feat. They describe their build and release process as more streamlined, with the size of their app has significantly decreased for their users. So you've now seen how building an app bundle results in smaller apps. And it also means that you no longer have to manage multiple APKs. The second big change that the app bundle enables is more modular apps. So today, we're releasing a preview of the ability to deliver features on demand. Just as building a bundle automatically builds splits, such as language, screen density, and hardware, you can create a split for additional features. We call these features dynamic features, and they are installed on demand. Each app will then have a base feature and n number of dynamic features. Again, with the latest version of Android Studio, you can start creating apps today with dynamic features. If you want to publish that app into the Play Store, however, we're still in beta, so you'll need to join the beta program on the Play Store. Although most apps won't need any effort to create the bundle and support dynamic delivery, creating these modular apps with on-demand features we do expect will be a longer-term progression, and it works best as you re-architect your apps over time. So let me give you an example of what it means for an app to have dynamic features. In this particular example, we have a Camera Depot app. It's just a simple e-commerce app. There's 4 features to pay attention to. The first feature is just to be able to browse goods. The second one, to be able to see what offers you have. Third, being able to buy items. And the fourth, being able to sell. You can imagine that from our apps usage that we see that less than 1% of people ever use the cell feature, and it's only by people in a particular region, or primarily. Every person who downloaded your app has to pay the price of installing all the features. In this case, we should make the cell feature a dynamic feature. So if a user clicks on the cell button, you'll see a small user prompt that the feature is downloading, and then it's dynamically delivered to the device. So how do these dynamic features then relate to a bundle? In the e-commerce app, the main browse application today was what we would call a base feature. You can then extend your base feature with dynamic features that deliver to your users on demand. In Android Studio, we've added a new plugin called Dynamic Feature. You can extend your application in Android Studio by adding multiple dynamic features to it. So let's take another example. Imagine that you have a video chat app. The app and the main app would be your base feature. You can then carve out a special feature, like augmented reality stickers, and deliver it on demand to users only with devices with the right camera to support that feature. If you build a new app, you should design your app as modular from the start, thinking carefully about a lightweight base app experience, and then how you would extend that app with dynamic features. If you have an existing app, we're expecting to see people take advantage of dynamic features, but carve out specific features over time. So once you've created your dynamic features, you can choose to deploy only a set of them to the device. As you can see here in Android Studio, what we've done is we've also updated how you deploy. The box here shows you 3 dynamic features: buy, offers, and sell. You have full control over which features you deploy so that you can mix and match them, and the base feature is always deployed.
So this framework will help large apps become smaller, and small apps remain small while adding more functionality. The first step is building an Android app bundle, and the next step, like Karen just described, is identifying features that can be carved out as dynamic features. After refactoring your code to carve out those dynamic features, you will need to integrate with the new client library we're releasing today. It's called the Google Play Core Library, and it includes a set of APIs allowing you to manage the delivery of those dynamic features to your users. And in case you want to deliver a feature as a response to a user request, you probably want to build a nice user experience around it. The Google Play Core Library provides a high degree of flexibility when you want to deliver a feature to your users. Beyond delivering a feature as a response to a user request, you can also ask to prefetch a feature when you predict the user will need it soon, or you can ask Play to deliver the feature as part of the next update cycle. We call this option deferred installation. When thinking about good use cases for dynamic features, we've identified 2 broad categories. The first category is what we call distinct features. These features are logically separate from the main flow of your app. For example, in the e-commerce app Karen mentioned earlier, there is a buyer experience and a seller experience. The seller experience is logically separate and therefore a great candidate for a dynamic feature. The second category is what we call interrupting features. Those features pop up during a normal user flow in your app. For example, if you have a photography app, you might have an option to add additional filters during the editing process. This is what we call an interrupting feature. And for those features, it is typically better to use the deferred installation option I mentioned earlier to make sure users have the feature available when they're ready to use it. And of course, we'll be super curious to see what use cases you come up with as you start innovating with dynamic features. Earlier in this talk, we've mentioned how developers want to keep their base install as small as possible while building rich new user experiences. Flipkart and Facebook are 2 of our early access partners who are helping us to test dynamic features. For Flipkart, as they think about building for the next 100 million users, dynamic features allow them to ship new and rich user experiences that are naturally size-heavy, like vernacular support, video, and feeds. Facebook used dynamic features to improve the experience of the app for different devices while reducing its network and resource usage. They told us that one thing they really like about the new framework is how dynamic features are updated seamlessly as part of any app update. Dynamic features enable dynamic code loading. When you deliver a feature on demand to your user, it can include code, resources, and assets. As you know, apps on Play are scanned by Google Play Protect and delivered securely to user devices. Dynamic features will also be scanned by Google Play Protect, which means your users will benefit from all the same protections we've been building for years on Google Play.
The Android app bundle will make development easier, and dynamic delivery, and is the future of the Android app model. Dynamic delivery will improve distribution. But what about the big thing in the middle? We've barely touched upon discovery. I want to invite Jonathan Carmel, who leads the Instant Apps team, to come join me and to tell us a little bit more about discovery.
Thanks, Karen. Last year on this stage, we announced that all app developers can now develop an instant app. Today, we're excited to add games to the mix. Today, all game developers can now develop an instant app. So let's start with an example of one of our top game developers that are live today. Roll the video, please. Welcome to Google Play Instant, where you can get apps and now games instantly. And as you saw in the video, when you click Try Now, you'll launch into a native app experience that is instant, and then you'll have an option to install. And users are installing more because of this Try Now button. Let me explain how. In the old world, you'd see a store listing page like this, where the user has two options, install or abandon. And users were abandoning because they weren't ready to commit to 100 megs onto their phone without playing the game or understanding the game fully. But in the new world, it now looks like this. So if you are already coming to the store to install, you're going to continue to install at the same rate you have before. And we're seeing this. The CTR rate for install has not changed. But if you are starting to wander and think about leaving, you now have another option. You have the Try Now button, and that will launch you into the instant experience and allow you to install. So where do you see these instant experiences? Well, clearly from the Play Store, where you'll see not only Try Now, but collections and banners that launch directly into an instant app. But the opportunity that we talked about last year was nothing to do with the Play Store. It was everything outside the Play Store, because that's often where the decision is to install or abandon. And that's where the biggest drop-off rates are. Let's take ads, for example. In the old world, I'd click this ad, and I'd land in the store listing page with an option to install. In the new world, I click this, and I land in the instant experience with an option to install. In both worlds, I have to decide if I want to install or not, but now I get to play the game while I assess if this is worth it to be on my phone. And if I receive a SMS from a friend that says, try out this new TV show, I can start watching that TV show immediately and then decide if I want to install the app. And if I'm looking for a new home on Google Search, I can actually find the home, land in the experience, look at the images, assess if I like the property, and then determine if I want to install the app, the real estate app that got me all that information. Now, this is great. It's a consumer-first experience. It's great for the user. But is it good for developers? The answer is yes. We're seeing installs, conversions, and engagement go up. So let's start with installs. Mighty Battle saw a 19% increase in installs just from the Try Now button. Now, this is one of the higher data points that we've seen, but we have seen incremental installs across the board. And as a developer, as you expand beyond the Play Store and start thinking about all the traffic sources I showed on the other slide, you'll start noticing that your new customer acquisition channel is instant apps. Take Vimeo, for example, which is sitting right over here. They're seeing 15% of their installs coming from instant apps. And NOS, a news app, is seeing 30% of their installs coming from instant apps. This is their new customer acquisition channel. So are instant apps just driving users to install? No, they're also having great experiences for the user within the instant app. WeGo, a travel app, is seeing 27% increase in conversions within the travel app, where you get new paid leads from the instant app. And Viki, a TV show app, is seeing monetizable watch time increase by 5x. So be it if you're trying to drive installs, or you want to make sure that the user has a great experience within the instant apps are doing both. Now, I know what you're wondering. We just talked about Android App Bundle. We talked about instant apps. And now you're worried that you're going to have double the work. You're going to go home and have to work on both things, or you're going to have to choose one or the other. Absolutely not. This is part of the same effort. And Instant is just a mode of the Android App Bundle. So what I'm going to do is take you from an Android App Bundle and migrate it to an Instant-enabled Android App Bundle. And then I'm also going to start with an Instant App and show you how you get to the Android App Bundle. All right, so Kobi came up here and said you take your APK and you get to an Android App Bundle. And then he also mentioned that you're going to start carving out code and start modularizing your app. So as you go through this process, you might notice that one of your features makes a great entry point, and you would love that your users actually instantly jump into your app that way. So if your base module and your dynamic feature module are small enough, you can just make those instant enabled. And for all that code that is in your installed app that you're not ready to have part of your instant app, you're going to wrap that as a dynamic feature module, and you're just going to make it available at install time. And there you have it, one binary that is both an instant app and an installed app. Now let's see what this looks like if you're one of the instant app developers that I see in the audience today. So you probably have something that looks like this. You have a zip file. It has both a base feature module, potentially another feature module. And you're going to take, and you did all this hard work to decrease the binary, to modularize. That work is not wasted. You're just going to take that same code, and you're just going to make it part of the Android App Bundle. And for all that code that's in your installed app, that's not in your instant app, again, you're going to wrap it as a dynamic feature module, and just make sure it's available in install time. There you are. Again, you have one binary that's both an instant app and an installed app. So now Karen's going to talk about what this looks like in Android Studio and the tooling that is coming soon to help you do just that.
Thanks, Jonathan. So let's take the same view of the app bundle that we saw earlier. If you're going to relate it, an instant app, and relate it to an Android app bundle, what would that look like? So as Jonathan mentioned, at this point, you already have a pretty modular app built using the existing Android Studio plugins. You have a base feature and a set of feature modules. It relates really nicely to the Android app bundle. The only difference is that your base feature is now com.android.application, and that your feature modules are just using the Gradle plugin com.android.dynamic feature. In the future, we'll be releasing tooling to support full unification of these two formats. Your Android app bundle will simply be instant enabled. So regardless of where you start from, if it's an instant app moving to an Android app bundle, or an Android app bundle that wants to be instant enabled, you're going to be covered. So as I mentioned earlier, dynamic features, you can build them today in Android Studio, building apps with dynamic features. But if you do want to publish them to production, they're still available as preview, and you need to join the beta program on the Play Store. At the same time that we're releasing dynamic features and making them fully available, we'll also be working on the tooling to instant enable your app bundle. Now let me invite Matt back up here to talk more about the feature.
Yeah. Thanks. So we've talked about big changes coming today. Firstly, much leaner apps are possible, and there's no more multi-APK. And secondly, dynamic features are out as a beta. Now I'd like to encourage you to imagine how you'll use these capabilities in the future and make use of them for your own app. So as you've heard, using the Android app bundle and Google Play dynamic delivery, you'll be able to create highly configurable, modularized apps that can be adapted to different users and different use cases. So your preliminary experience can be lean and instant, with additional features provided to users on demand as they need it. Which of your features are only used by a fraction of your users? The capabilities will allow you to create different versions of the same feature for different device types, such as low memory and high memory devices. It will also enable you to do live experimentation with different versions of the same functionality without making your app bigger. And you can find out which variant works the best and fuels your success. What sensitive user journeys in your app, like a checkout path, could benefit from that sort of experimentation? We're moving away from a world of giant installs to a world of modular app development, instant app experiences, and dynamic delivery. Apps will be richer, yet they'll be smaller and more efficient, both on disk and over the wire. We encourage you to start thinking about how you'll use these capabilities to improve your install conversion. Start thinking about how you'll use these capabilities to lower your uninstall rates, and start thinking about how you'll use them to build richer experiences that help you to improve engagement with your app. Android apps are evolving, and we're excited to see what you can build with these capabilities. And we start today. All developers can now build Android app bundles in the latest Canary release of Android Studio 3.2 and upload them to the Play console. You don't need to refactor your app to get started. You can get started on the web at g.co/Android app bundle. And you can get started with modularization and dynamic features in the Canary too. Those who are ready to start publishing apps with dynamic features can apply to join the beta on the website. To find out more, attend the session right after this one on stage 2, where our engineering team are going to share some technical deep dives about building the bundle and using the new client library enabling dynamic delivery. Thanks, and have a great I/O.